Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with another update from my project Level Up. So this project was created by me a couple years ago because I wanted to create a project where I could still hit Pan eyeshadows, so similar to like Pan Those Eyeshadows, but I wanted a bit more freedom to show the palette that I'm panning some love. Because my main issue with like Pan Those Eyeshadows and rolling in specific shades to pan on is that I completely neglect the rest of the palette. So I created Project Level Up, which means that you have to use the whole palette, not just his pan. So how it works is that you have a palette, like right now I'm panning the Sultry palette, and I'm currently on level 1. So for that, I need to hit one pan in here, and that is where the pan comes in. And I can choose any shade in the palette, so that also means that you can have pan on like your favorite shades. Because another issue that I ran into a lot with Pan Those Eyeshadows when I randomized shades was that a lot of like non-favorite eyeshadows has pan on them and it looked super well loved. Whereas like some of my favorite shades I just never touched, if that makes sense. So I feel like this is a better way to reflect like your actual favorite shadows in palette, or like which one you would gravitate to by yourself. So that is the first part of it. And then the second part is that you also have to use the palette no pan left behind. So I have to use every single shade in here one time. Once I complete that goal, I level up to level 2 and I have to hit 2 pans and use every shade twice. After that, level 3, 3 pans and 3 uses per shadow, and so on. And once you get to level 5, you have an option to either continue past level 5 and go as far as you can or as far as you want to go, or you can go back down to level 1, which is what I've done, and that's why I'm on level 1 right now. So I'm excited to share with you where I am standing with this palette today. I'm going to talk you through the progress and everything like that. I've had this one in for 1 month now. But before I jump into the progress, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. Alright, so as I've already said, I am working on the Sultry palette from Anastasia. I'm going to roll the footage here of what it looked like when I first introduced it, which again was the last update. As you can see, I already have a couple pans in here. I have, I think, 5 pans at the introduction here. So my goal is, of course, to hit one more pan, so stand at 6 pans at, before I can roll it out. And of course, I also have to reach for every single shade once, like I said. So I have been using this palette quite a lot over the past month, and this is what it looks like today. So you can get a good look at the overview here and get an inclination of if I hit my goals or not. But yeah, this is what the palette looks like. I'm really, really happy. It looks very well loved now. And even though this is more of a cool tone palette, it is one that I still really, really enjoy. So I'm glad it's getting some love. So yes, I will have the comparison pictures up there, but I also have the palette right here, of course, just to look at it again. But I'm going to talk you through the usage of each shade and let you know where the palette stands today. First up in the palette, we have the shade Fresh, which is just like a setting shade, blending out shade. I don't set my eyelids when I put on eyeshadows, but I used it as like a blending out shade to kind of take down creases too much, stuff like that. And this shade I already had pan on, as you can see, last month when I introduced the palette. But I have used it 4 times in the past month, so I still got some decent use. Then next to that we have the shade Pearl, and as you might be able to see in the pictures and also in the overview, this was the shade that I decided to focus on to try to hit pan. And as you might be able to see right there, we do have a pan showing now. So this shade is a super easy shade for me to reach for. I rolled this one in or picked this shade just because it is one that I can use a lot, almost with any look, as an inner corner highlight, and that's also how I used it. It did take me a decent amount of time before I hit pan on the shade. It took me 17 uses in total, so not like the longest time, but considering you use quite a small brush, it did take a decent amount of time. So I'm happy to have that one pan completed, which means that I have checked off that part of the criteria to level up. Then for the rest of the palette, I'm actually not going to talk you through each shade because it's very, very easy to sum up the rest of the usage. For the rest of the palette, every single shade apart from the first 2, again, Fresh I used 4 times and Pearl I used 17 times with pan, but the rest of the palette, the rest of the 12 shades, I only used once. So I did complete my no pan left behind, and I have therefore also leveled up. It's quite a quick update because I didn't use this palette like too much, apart from obviously those 2 shades, and I mean I mostly reached into Pearl whenever I opened this palette. But the reason for that is because I am very, very focused at the moment on my Pan That palette and also to complete my Big Fat Eyeshadow project. Those 2 are my main eyeshadow focuses at the moment, which means that this palette got the bare minimum, and then I decided to like film this video. So I actually pan on this shade this morning, the shade Pearl, and I'm pre-filming this quite a lot. It is currently the 18th today, so it's actually only been 10 days since my last update was posted. I did also pre-film that one though, I think a week or so in advance, or a week and a half maybe. So, you know, it's not been like only 10 days. I think it's more likely been like, I don't know, maybe 2.5, 3 weeks since I rolled this palette in, which actually no, that makes sense, because again, Pearl I have used 17 times, so, you know, that kind of sums up that it would be around, hopefully, like, I think 20 days or so since I rolled this palette in. But I am gonna roll this one out today, and I'm gonna replace it with level 2. So that means that the palette that I roll in, I'm gonna have to reach for every shade twice and hit 2 pans, which is gonna be fun. I think I can do that. My goal is to complete level 2 and then roll in a level 3, and then for level 3 we'll see if I can get through it or not. Yeah, I think that's everything I want to cover with this palette. Again, it's quite a short update just because of level 1 and also because of the way I use this palette. But I'm really, really happy that I have leveled up from this one. And like I said in the overview when I was talking through this palette, I'm really happy that I am getting some love on this one, because it is a really, really beautiful palette. And it is getting up there in age. And yeah, there's definitely shades in here that are relatively unused. Like, you know, most of these shades have some decent use on it. The only ones that I would say kind of looks untouched, not untouched, but very lightly used are these 2 shades right here, and then also, you know, Dystopian and Noir, so these 2 darkest mattes. The rest of the palette does look, you know, used. Some have pan, some have just like a bit of a like indentation, stuff like that, but I am happy with how this palette is looking, so I'm happy that this one rolled into this project. I'm also happy because this was actually a palette that I hadn't used in my Big Fat Eyeshadow project, so I was able to use this one there. So that is going to be it for the Sultry palette. Let me talk you through my plans for level 2. Alright, so for level 2 and 3 for the rest of the year, someone commented on this, and I actually thought about this already before, but I wasn't sure if like you guys were going to be okay with it, because it is fun to randomize palettes. And at first I thought, like, should I hand pick a palette, or should I just go and do it the way I am actually going to do it? I'm not going to hand pick, I'm going to do it a different way. But basically, since I'm also doing my Big Fat Eyeshadow project, and that is, like I said, one of my main priorities when it comes to eyeshadows for the rest of the year, I want to make sure that I make a look with every single, well, not one look, I want to make 3 looks with every single palette that I still have left to go through. And obviously, if I work on a product level up palette that's also in that project, that's really going to help with those 3 looks. So, because when I do those 3 looks, it's going to help with the usage for this product, if that makes sense. So I feel like it makes sense to working on them parallel. It also means that I have less palettes in my drawers at any point in time. And someone commented that last month too. And she said, why don't you roll your next like level from the list of palettes you haven't used yet? So that is actually exactly what I'm going to do. I have my palettes right here that have not yet been in my Big Fat Eyeshadow project. And the ones that I have left to get through this year is the Colourpop Golden Coconuts, the Viseart Paris Edit, the Luna Beauty Eternal Eclipse, Sydney Gray's Mountain Trail, Odin's Eye Snow Dream, and the Red Dragon, again both from Odin's Eye. We have 3 Pat McGrath palettes. We have the Divine Rose 1, the Moonlit Seduction, and the Midnight Sun. And then we also have, well, we had technically 2 Natasha Denona palettes. We have the Glam Face Light, or Glam Light. What's the full name? I think it's like Natasha Denona Glam Face Light, right? Anyway, we have that palette, but we also have the Mini Gold. However, the Mini Gold already have pan on all of the shades, just because I had that one actually in my third level up as my last palette last year, so I hit pan on all 5 shades for level 5. So that one is not, you know, applicable for this project. But I have made, again, this wheel with all of the palettes that are eligible. So I'm going to go ahead and randomize from here. So I have said before, I do have vetoes. So when I read out the names, there's definitely palettes on here that I am more keen to work on than others. Some palettes I am not sure if I can pan on. Some of them I don't know if I want to pan on, mainly my Pat McGrath palettes. So I will see how it goes. I might use some of my vetoes now. I do have 3 vetoes. So, you know, I might use them for this. Or I might roll something in. So if I roll something in, it's like a really difficult palette, I might utilize 30 use gold instead of pan. But we'll see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just roll the palette. I'm a little bit nervous, but we'll see what I get. I definitely have like 3 palettes or so that would be my pick. But let's see, that's Pat McGrath Divine Rose one. That's one of the palettes that I didn't want to get. I think I'm going to veto that. It's not my favorite Pat McGrath palette either. I'm going to veto it, so that is not going to be rolled in. We'll see. I'm probably just going to get my 3 Pat McGrath palettes on, aren't I? I am. We got the Midnight Sun. That one is better. It's probably the one of the Pat McGrath palettes that I would most likely want to reach for. So if I decide to go with this one, I would either have to use, like, hit pan on 2 shades or use 2 of them 30 times, which is doable, but do I want to do it? We'll see. What I will do is I will roll a 3rd time and I will pick between those 2 palettes. I actually have to close the app down because my boyfriend called me, but I'm going to go ahead and roll now so you can see the 2 Pat McGrath palettes are booked up. But we'll see. I'm going to pick between the Pat McGrath palette and whatever I pick next. We'll see what it is. This Yacht Paris Edit. That's also a palette that's going to be quite hard to hit pan on, I think. Oh my god, this is so difficult. This is literally like the palettes that I did not want to get. Like, looking at the rest of them, if I'm being honest, like, the ones I would probably most want to roll in would be like either one of the Odin side palettes. So either the Red Dragon or the Snow Dream or the Gone Coconuts. Those 3 are absolutely fine. Then in like the second ranking would probably be either the Gone Coconuts or the Mountain Trail palette. Then it would probably be like in further ranking would be the Lunar Beauty Eternal Eclipse palette and the Visi Art and then the Pat McGrath last. So I literally got like some of the least desirable palettes for this project. It's so hard. Part of me just kind of want to re-roll again, but then I'm also kind of feeling like then I could just hand select my palette. I wish I could like talk to you guys now. I wish I could like ask you guys what you want me to do, because I know that if I roll in my Pat McGrath palette, which is probably the one I'm leaning towards between that and the Visi Art, which is crazy because I said I wanted to roll my Pat McGrath palette last. But if I roll that in, I know that I probably won't be able to hit pan, and I know it's fun to hit pan. But I could also like roll again and see what I get. But then what if I don't, what if I'm not happy with that answer either? This is why, again, I wish I could ask you in real time. Okay, I'm probably going to be crazy. I'm probably crazy, but I'm going to go ahead and go with my second roll, which wasn't there. I'm just realizing I'm talking about the Midnight Sun palette, but in my head I was thinking the Moonlit Seduction palette, but Midnight Sun, still really, really happy to roll in. It's actually my newest palette in my collection. I got that one from you guys. So it would be really good to work on to try to get to know it better. And it might sound crazy, but I think I'm going to go for it. I think I'm going to roll in my Pat McGrath palette, the Midnight Sun palette. And I'm just going to put in the caveat of if I can't hit pan, I'll have to use the shade 30 times, which is a lot for me. In my Pan Those Eyeshadows and stuff like that, I have the threshold of 15. So 30 is quite a lot. And who knows, I might hit pan, which would be crazy, but I'm going to do that. So let me go and get that palette and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so this is a palette right here. It is a Pat McGrath palette. It's the first time I've ever had that in my product level up, and it does scare me, and this is kind of like what I've been saving my vetoes for if I ever roll a Pat McGrath palette into this project. Yeah, I've always been scared to roll them into this project just because I know how hard it is to pan on them, but it's time, and this is only it's only level 2, so it should be doable. And this is what the palette looks like. I can insert some overhead footage as well, like some B-roll footage, so you can see what it looks like. But this one, as I said, is my newest palette in my collection. There was unfortunately 2 shades that shattered in transit, which is the 2 first shades in the palette, which is fine. They're more of the standard kind of shimmers. And then also the gold shade at the top row also got a crack in it during transit, but I think that one is mainly fine. You can see it kind of like slightly there. But this again is a palette. The one that I could probably hit pan on is this shade here, because it's shattered, it's quite low in the pan. But I don't know if that's a shade that I want to focus on, just because it's more of a, again, a standard kind of shimmer. I don't know why I swatched it there, but there it is. The ones that I am thinking of is the last shade in the palette. I don't have the names because, yeah, they're Pat McGrath and they don't have the names inside. But you can see how beautiful and reflective that shade is. That is, again, the last shade in the palette, this one here. I think I'm going to focus on that one just because it's such a beautiful topper, and I know that I will love using that one. So I think that one is going to be an easy kind of 30 uses. So that's probably going to be one of the ones that I focus on. And then for the rest of the palette, I'm either probably going to focus on the inner corner shade right here, or potentially this one right there. But I think I'm just going to have to see how it goes when I play with the palette. I'm definitely going to focus on the shimmers because they will help complement my Panda palette as well. But preliminarily, I think the ones that I'm most likely to focus on is this one right here and then the inner corner shade. But that is going to be my Product Level Up Level 2 palette. I'm a little bit scared, but I'm sure that I can do it. I will just keep going with this one. I don't know if it's going to take 1 month or 2 months, probably 2 months considering it's 30 uses. Or actually, because I'm pre-filming this, I might be able to do it before the next update. We'll see. But I am going to wrap up the video here. Let me know what you think about this palette. Do you think I did the right choice, or should I have re-rolled again or handpicked or whatever? Let me know, because I might be in a similar situation for level 3. So let me know what you want me to do then. I think overall, I'm pretty happy with this choice. Again, it wouldn't have been my first pick. I probably would have wanted to go with one of my Olden side palettes, if I'm being completely honest. But again, can't always have what we want. So this is the palette that I'm going to work on, but it's also, like I said, going to be a great opportunity to get to know this palette, because again, I haven't actually used it and it's the newest palette in my collection. But I hope you guys are having an amazing day wherever you guys are, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys.